Hello and welcome to the Library Connection. I'm Summer Newman Ernest, and the library staff and board want to join me in saying thank you to TV47 for the opportunity to showcase the B.B. Comer Memorial Library and our service to the entire greater Sylacauga community. Joining me today is Mr. Kevin Whitman of Whitman Gallery and Studio. So you see we have some beautiful artwork up here. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, just get to know you kind of stuff, Kevin.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in this area?
I was actually born and raised in Sylacauga. Went to Sylacauga High School, graduated, and then went to the University of Alabama, and so lived in Tuscaloosa for 2 years and moved back. I've been here ever since.
There you go. And not to prod, but how old are you?
I'm 31.
Yeah. So almost 30 years, I guess, here in Sylacauga. And I think it's so exciting to have young people to come back to the community. And I know that you've been providing a lot of wonderful opportunities for people to experience the arts and all the services that you've provided. We're going to talk about. Tell me a little bit about your family.
My family, well, my parents are Bill and Pam Whitman, both from Sylacauga. I have an older brother, the late David Whitman, and my sister Jenna Whitman, who lives here as well and runs Sherbella Salon here in town.
Wow, so lots of Whitmans. Well, that's a well-known name in Sylacauga, Whitmans are. And so I know, so you went to Alabama.
Went to Alabama.
Which is fine, but you didn't major in art there.
I didn't. I've actually never had a formal art lesson whatsoever. I'm completely self-taught. And I studied business and got my degree in marketing and went straight to work in that field and for EBSCO Industries in Birmingham and been there for 8 years.
So what do you do at EBSCO then?
I market academic, medical, and technical journals. So I deal with their subscription base and try to grow it through all kinds of different marketing pieces and kind of report back on, how their subscriptions are growing or they're not.
And so what kind of schools would you work with?
Yeah, we mainly sell to universities and to libraries across the, internationally.
Which we like to hear that.
Yes.
B.B. Comer Memorial Library.
Yes.
And as you know, we have tons of periodicals as well that people can come and read on a monthly basis. And so with your marketing job, have you been able to incorporate any of your artistic kind of with graphic design or anything?
I do. I'll, get to design my own pieces or my own email blast. And so that's kind of, I went into marketing with that idea that I would still be able to be creative in the business world. And actually make a living, because it's so hard to make a living as an artist. So,
that's exactly right.
Have a real job,
right.
That I can still incorporate creativity into it.
Right. And so how did you get into, was it always just drawing and, that kind of medium, or how did you get into art?
Even as a child, I was always drawn to the arts. And I can, distinctly remember visiting the Birmingham Museum, and it just had such an impact on me that I always wanted to create. I was always really good with my hands and, just whatever it was, I wanted to be making something out of anything. Right. Even if, art materials are very expensive, so I would find whatever I had, paper plates or whatever, and just create something out of it. And it really started more when I was at Alabama, because my walls were white and you couldn't paint them or anything like that. So I said, well, I'm going to start painting. Right. So I started painting and while I was at Alabama and never stopped.
Wow. I think that's so great because, you just know from the get-go. It's like my son, he's into the arts and he always has been, and it's not that anybody's pushed him in that direction. Right. And I know that it's so important here lately, especially we've seen a lot more arts in the schools, is to have that, to cultivate that, because who knows, if you don't have that outlet that maybe we're, keeping some Picasso or somebody from developing.
And I think, when I was in school, I did take one art class in high school, but it wasn't until I got to high school that I had any art. We had music, but we didn't have any actual art, painting or sculpting or anything like that. Until I was a senior in high school. Right. And I think had I had it earlier, maybe I would have started producing more work at a younger age, but just didn't really have that outlet to do that.
Definitely. I think that's one exciting thing with the Marble Festival here, and at least we see another medium with the sculpting, that we have sculptures everywhere, and so it's opening the eyes of kids that might not have a chance to go to the Birmingham Museum of Art to see those things.
When the first sculpture went up downtown, it was so exciting for me to be able to see I mean, we have such a great resource here,
Right.
and to see it out just driving down the street, I mean, it's such an impact, you know, and
It is.
it's continuing to grow, and everybody who drives through town, you know, gets to experience art, even if, you know, they don't want to, they're going
Right.
to see it, and it might
Right.
have an impact on them.
Right.
I think that's, you know, the whole purpose of art is to, you
I
know,
agree.
you can bring up some kind of emotion or feeling, and I think it does that.
I think so too. And so you work in Birmingham, but I know that you used to have a gallery in Childersburg, right?
I did.
Or how did that all get started?
It's kind of a strange story how it all started about. I had never taught anyone how to paint before. And a coworker of mine ran the children's program at a church in Childersburg. And she asked if I could come do a small class for Mother's Day. It was going to be for Mother's Day. She said, you know, it's only going to be about 10 kids or so. I said,
Right.
you know, I think I can handle this. And they kept signing up for it. And it ended up being 65 kids.
Oh, wow.
In the very first class, I, you know, was a little overwhelmed, but the joy of working with the kids and them being able to paint something and then give it to their mother,
Right.
I was like, wow, you know, this is great. So I started teaching at my house, in my living room, had a couple classes there, and then it grew more. So I transitioned to my parents' house, which I'm sure they, you know, were thrilled about that.
They were being supportive.
Yeah. And then I kind of have a big head sometimes and jump right into things and decided I was going to open up a full-blown gallery. So I did that in Childersburg and taught. We were open. I represented about 20 different artists there.
Wow.
And just realized that it was too much work. It was a full-time job on top of my real
because you were
full-time
still
job.
working at EBSCO that whole time.
So I moved it to Sylacauga, scaled it down a little bit to where I don't represent artists anymore, where I just teach classes.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Whitman Gallery and Studio located right here in Sylacauga.
Recycling, it's nothing new, but how many of us actually do it? What's the point? Every time you toss out something that could be recycled, you're throwing away money. Recyclables are valuable, and when items like these are recycled, they are sold to businesses and made into new products. Alabama's recycling industry employs thousands of people, and more recycling equals more jobs, which equals more money put back in your local economy. See, recycling just makes sense. Let us show you how recycling works in and for Alabama.
At Fort Williams Pharmacy, you won't find motor oil, garden hoses, or mountain climbing gear. Nope, they don't have that. What they do have is a professional, friendly staff that understands your needs. Filling prescriptions is their primary business, and they take it seriously. They also have a drive-through window for your convenience and free local delivery. Most of all, Fort Williams Pharmacy knows your time is valuable, so when it's time to fill your prescriptions, you need it done fast, friendly, and accurately. Fort Williams Pharmacy, our family, caring for your family.
This month's TV 47 Star Student of the Month from Sylacauga High School is brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home and Fort Williams Pharmacy. Congratulations, Caitlin McTeer from Sylacauga High School. This month's Star Student of the Month has been brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Fort Williams Pharmacy, and TV 47.
Hello and welcome back to the Library Connection. I'm Summer Newman Ernest, and joining me today is Mr. Kevin Whitman of Whitman Gallery and Studio. And we've been talking about your background. You're from Sylacauga, your family's from here. You went to Alabama, but thankfully you didn't stay in Tuscaloosa. You came back here, and now you're being able to share your talents with us, which I think this is so great because I just automatically assumed that you went to school. You know, you've always been into art and majored in it, but come to find out that you actually majored in marketing and work where? At EBSCO.
Yeah, I work at EBSCO in Birmingham.
Yeah, and doing marketing. And so we saw the Whitman Gallery that you had in Childersburg, and so you said that was a little bit too big, your full-time job, for your full-time job. And so now it's located where in Sylacauga?
It's in the Fort Williams Center, which is on Fort Williams, kind of across from Burger King. It's actually connected to my sister's salon, so we share a space there. Works out better for both of us.
That's great. And for anybody who's originally from Sylacauga, you think it's near Dr. Gray and Dr. Palmer's old office.
Yes, it's a former motel that's been converted to.
Yeah, do you remember that? No, you're probably not. You're probably too young.
No.
Yeah, Dr. Gray's office was right there.
Yeah.
So, and then there's stores, all kinds of things, but it's a great space.
It is a good little space.
So are there regular hours, or how does it work?
There are. We teach every Friday and Saturday night, but we have so many private parties that we do and so many birthday parties that it's hard to say that we're going to be open every Friday and Saturday, because if somebody has booked a private party, we we'll be closed for that. So we have a very active Facebook page that we post on if we're going to be open. And you can just message us on there to see if we're going to be open, or just look for our post and it'll let you know.
Okay, and so is that Whitman Gallery and Studio on Facebook?
I think you just look up Whitman Gallery and it'll show up.
And it'll come up, and then I guess that would have any contact information or phone
Yes,
numbers
it's all on
as
there.
well. And so you said party. So I don't understand. How do you have a party at the gallery?
I know. Parties, it's just something that can, kind of come about too. It's, we do tons of kids parties there. I never thought I would teach kids, but after I did it a couple times, I realized, well, at least this is exposing them to art.
Yes.
Some kids that, maybe never would paint before, but they come to the birthday party and it's part of the party that they paint.
Right.
So, I think that aspect of it is great. And we will theme it out to whatever the child's party is and come up with a painting and then let everybody paint, and it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, my son Payne, he actually came to one a few years ago, and it was the most fun ever. You wouldn't think that, and this was, 5-year-old sitting there. That makes me so nervous with all this paint, but you are such an expert at it, and I'm thinking, how is this going to work? And they literally came home. He still has it in his room with a canvas, of their own painting of their choice. And I think they had a few
And we've
choices.
had some that's come, several years. So there's these group of kids, and I've seen them, progress from when they first started out to now they come in and then basically, do it themselves without any instruction. And, it's great to see.
And I know that people can even come with their own ideas, right?
They can.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, you can bring in your own idea, and, I can help guide you if you're going to freestyle paint. I'm not the best drawer in the world, but if it's something that needs to be projected, we can project it and draw it out for you so that it's drawn out properly and then start painting. But
These days with Pinterest and all this, I'm sure the ladies come in with a lot
every
of
day.
ideas.
Just about there's a can we do this?
Something that they've seen on Pinterest. I know. So you had to do kids' birthday parties, and then what kind of adult
parties? We have a lot at Christmas time. Christmas office parties. We do bachelorette parties, wedding showers, which I thought was a little strange, but it's
whatever.
Why not?
Exactly.
And just groups of friends will come in.
Girls' night out.
Yeah, girls' night out. They want to, just be their group, so they'll book a private party for that.
Right. I think that's such a great idea, because not only are you creating something and having fun, but you're able to socialize with one another in a great setting and private setting.
And you're able to bring a drink along with you. I can't serve, but you can bring whatever you want. So that kind of makes it a little more fun.
Definitely. And for the birthday parties, like we had the cake there.
Yeah, you can bring whatever you want into. We're real laid back. So.
Right. And that's especially good. My son has a February birthday, so when it's cold or if it's raining and you don't want all those kids in your own house, we'll come to your studio.
Yes.
So we have some pieces here, and I want you to tell me a little bit about them. A beautiful painting and a sculpture. First of all, the painting, and how does it? I don't know, because once again, I appreciate art, but I cannot do it myself.
Yes,
just tell me about it.
This is one of my latest pieces that I'm working on a new show. I haven't been showing lately, but in the past, showed all over the Southeast at art shows and galleries, and kind of cut back on that to focus on the gallery and set design, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But so I'm starting to get back into creating my own work to show around at different galleries and stuff. So this is the first piece in a new series. It's acrylic, and it's a process that I developed for the undertones and everything.
And it's hard to translate, I think, with the light. But I mean, there's metallic. It's really just striking. And I love the size of it, too. It's big.
Yes, I love to paint big.
I like big.
I have a tiny car, and it's hard to move everything around. But if I could paint massive walls, that's what I always want to paint.
Right.
Because you're so controlled in a small canvas. But this is a good size.
I love that.
And then over here we have, this is some of my unconventional art. This is made from plastic plates that I melt down and sculpt.
First of all, how does that even work? I guess you don't want to give your tricks of the trade, but how does that work without you burning stuff?
Well, I mean, things do get burned some, but it came about because I had a show at the museum here, and it was all paintings.
Right.
And there was just this massive space in the middle of the room that I felt needed something big. and I always wanted to sculpt, but traditional sculpting out of marble, or if you're going to cast it in bronze, I mean, it costs a fortune,
Right.
So I set a budget and said, I'm going to take $100 and I'm just going to go see what I can find that I can find enough of to make some kind of sculpture.
Right.
And so I went through and I found plastic plates and bought $100 worth of them.
The most plates ever purchased, yeah.
Decided, okay, let's do something with this. And I built a massive big red sculpture. And it was so popular that I started doing smaller ones.
Right.
And it's probably been my most popular work, actually, is the sculpture.
And I think that's so neat, for people who haven't been to Museum of Modern Art, but art can be anything.
Art
it
can
does
be
not
anything,
have to be, marble. It does not have to be canvas and paint. I mean, it's
Right.
incredible, the things.
I think there's a mentality that a painting has to be like an oil on canvas.
Right.
But, that's changed so much. There's so many different materials to work with now. And I think when you start going out and using unconventional materials, then you get unconventional art, which is much more interesting.
Right,
I think.
right. Well, and it's your translation, your inspiration. Kevin, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about what you've been doing lately, and of course the Whitman Gallery and Studio.
This month's TV 47 Star Student of the Month from Nichols Lawson Middle School, brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home and Rings Custom Home. Congratulations, Kayla McKinney from Nichols Lawson Middle School. This month's Star Student of the Month has been brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Rings Custom Homes, and TV 47.
Recycling, it's nothing new, but how many of us actually do it? What's the point? Every time you toss out something that could be recycled, you're throwing away money. Recyclables are valuable, and when items like these are recycled, they are sold to businesses and made into new products. Alabama's recycling industry employs thousands of people, and more recycling equals more jobs, which equals more money put back in your local economy. See, recycling just makes sense. Let us show you how recycling works in and for Alabama.
This month's TV 47 Star Student of the Month from Fayetteville School is brought to you by Survival Prepper 101 and State Representative Ron Johnson. Congratulations, Sawyer Wells from Fayetteville School. This Star Student of the Month has been brought to you by Survival Prepper 101, State Representative Ron Johnson, and TV 47.
Hello and welcome back to the Library Connection. I'm Summer Newman Ernest, and joining me today is Mr. Kevin Whitman. We've been talking about the Whitman Gallery and Studio, which is located here in Sylacauga, a wonderful venue for parties, for kids' birthday parties, for a girls' night out, and also a place, I guess it's a little smaller, that you can have some of your artwork in there.
Right. I have a little bit, not much, but
Right.
It gives me a place to kind of display a little bit of my work, and I can change it out and.
And I know something that you did in the past, and maybe not right now, but you might get back into, is jewelry making.
I did, for a little while, and did a lot of shows, kind of all
Right.
over. I started out, because I would go to a show, and it seemed like the only thing that ever sold was jewelry.
Right.
And I'm sitting over here, thinking, dang, and I wish I could sell a painting.
Right.
While the jewelry booths were blowing up.
Right.
So I kept, looking at all the jewelry supplies and everything, and it's like, I like figuring things out. So I bought some stuff and couldn't really figure it out and put it down for a little bit. And then I actually started sculpting the plastic into pendants and started showing that, and people were buying it. So I was like, okay. So I went back and started getting different beads and stuff and tried to make pieces that were more artistic, kind of my eye, because I really didn't know what women would want to wear.
Right.
So I'd ask my mom, what do you think about this? And she's like, it's way too big. I'm like, well, it's a sculpture, Mama. It's supposed to be,
Right.
And
it's a statement necklace. Those are,
It would go to my sister, and so the jewelry has gotten a lot smaller now, because all the women in my life have told me,
you don't want it to pull your earlobe.
So, and I did that for a while. I haven't made any lately, but maybe I can get back kind of into that because
definitely there's a huge market for it. We just got back from Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh,
and every studio we went into, jewelry was huge.
Yes.
It really was.
It's kind of the backbone of artists, so you can still make some money until you sell a big piece or whatever. You can kind of have a flow.
Right. Well, I know even Cracker Brown sells the heart necklaces, because once again that's something you can put out easily and somebody can purchase if they can't, afford a full painting or a full sculpture. And so we were talking about our two pieces here. That obviously this is a beautiful acrylic, and that this was actually made out of
melted plastic plates,
which is so interesting. And once again, it's hard to translate on TV, but it is a beautiful piece and goes way down. And I know that you've had some wonderful pieces that have been in the museum. And so you were saying that you're getting ready to hopefully do some more shows. And how does that even work?
You can, if it's a huge gallery, they have a process where you submit your art to the gallery and it's reviewed, and they'll either pick you up as an artist and represent you. And I did that for a while in Atlanta and showed at a hotel there. It was an art hotel. It was a new concept. Cool. And so I did the lobby pieces for, Castleberry Hill Inn was the name of the hotel there.
Wow, that's impressive.
And it's a fun life to travel around and show your art, but it's also, it's a tough life too. If you're doing it full time, it's great, but having a full-time job and having the studio and everything else that I do, it got to be too much.
Sure.
So I think I'm going to try. I have a show coming up in Alex City at the Wine Emporium.
Oh, nice.
And I've showed there before. It's been, they put on a great show there. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's good. And I know through the Facebook page and everything, you can see more artwork. Do you ever do commission pieces?
I do,
or would you be
occasionally, yes.
Right.
I don't really do portraits. Done it before, but it's a little too stressful for me.
But if somebody said, I want a 10 by whatever, then you could definitely do that. Like I said, I already want to take this home. My husband would say, no, not another one. And so I know that you've been super busy doing set design recently for the Sylacauga Community Playhouse, which has just sort of gotten reinstated. And first of all, how many productions have you done thus far with them?
I've done 4 sets so far, which I've never had designed anything before really, and they just come to me and with my artistic background and do you think you can do this? And I always like a challenge.
Sure.
So sure, and there's a lot of carpentry work that goes into that, and a lot of people probably don't think I can build carpentry and all, but
hey, you've done it. I've been on those sets. There's not been any major.
All the internal structure is always, just as creative as kind of the outside decorative parts of pieces that you see. So I actually did the Playhouse when I was a kid. I acted, and it was fun. And
I did it too.
The Playhouse kind of went away, and I was always hoping it would come back, but I knew I didn't have it in me to lead that.
Right.
And Dan Nixon moved back and kind of got it all going, and asked how I could, be involved, and I said, sure.
Sucker.
Sure, I'll build your set for your first play.
Well, and people don't think about that when they go to a production. Be it Broadway or Community Playhouse, the set is such an important factor because you can't get out there and do the play without the proper set. And there's so much that goes into it.
So much,
I think about just Little Mermaid, The Little Mermaid Junior, which was last summer's children's production.
Yes.
Everyone that came, you were blown away by the set because truly you felt like you were under the sea.
Yeah. And there's, I look at being the artist, I look back at it now like, man, there's so many different things I could have done to make it so much cooler. And but everybody says it looked great, so I go with, okay, it was fine, but still I'm like,
And it has to be things that you could roll in. There were on casters and hurry and roll out.
The
within
biggest
a few
challenge
seconds.
was to create Ariel's layer and Ursula's. And initially we were going to do 2 separate ones, but worked it out so that it was the same one that we could rotate around because it had to swap out so fast. So we just rotate pieces. And there's so many people behind the scenes that you don't see that are moving these set pieces in and out. In 30 seconds you're not to completely change everything. And I've kind of fallen in love with that fast pace. Did we get everything out right?
It's stressful.
And, every play, you being an actress, you realize every play it's always a little bit different.
Definitely.
With the set. Maybe we didn't get something where we were supposed to, and it's just fun. Everybody working together to put on a show.
Well, Addams Family, if you didn't get a chance to see it,
Yes.
it was the grand setup, because we're talking about a two-story, the Addams Family mansion.
It was a challenge.
Wow, it was really, and so just speaking of building, I mean, you're building steps and a second story.
And I had, because we're still starting out, so we don't have massive budgets to just build everything from scratch. So what we do is take pieces that we've used in the past and try to incorporate them in. So we had some steps, I think, had been used for different pageants and different things, and I wanted to turn those into a spiral staircase. And we did that, but what I didn't realize was that there were going to be like 8 people up on this platform.
Right.
So that's
Adults.
a whole nother level of, oh, okay, what?
Yeah.
So to make sure that everything was structurally sound.
Safe, yeah,
for
we weren't
that,
scared being up there.
but I think, it turned out great. We had a lot of help building those platforms. And then I think the walls were great. We hand stenciled all the walls to make it look like antique wallpaper, and it was a really fun set to just kind of get in the mind of, what would the Addams Family have in their house.
Right.
And there's guide points, and we can look at other sets and everything, but I always like the approach of, well, let me just think about it myself. When, what do I think they would have in addition to what needs to be there for the script and everything. So.
Right. Well, and just the process takes so long. I know, the time that it takes, all the performers on stage to learn all their lines. You start from the get-go, designing set and working and
mentally, but I'm a notorious procrastinator. I know it probably drives the directors, insane.
You're an artist. That's it. You're an artist.
Painting, right before the first show opens up live, but I work better under pressure, and I have it all in my head, but it might not be completed. But
right. Well, and then most recently, you did the set for Still Magnolias.
We did,
which
Still Magnolias.
Was at Sylacauga High School, and I know huge crowds came and tons of school performances, and it was huge too. I was blown away with how big.
And it was a smaller cast, so the challenge with that one was how do we draw the audience into this massive set. Where they're just not in one place, and everything feels left alone. So we brought them down to the audience level on the floor, because there was a 2-level stage. We had originally set it up on top of the stage, but it just didn't give you that intimate feel.
Right.
So we brought the actors into the audience, and I think that really made that set fantastic.
It did. And what a neat way for you to use your talents, beyond the gallery and your parties and teaching kids and adults and all of your work, is that now through the Community Playhouse you can use your creativity and design, and we're so thankful because it's been wonderful. I can't wait to see every set. I'm like, what is he going to do now? How is he going to pull this one off?
And it's been good too, because we've actually been going into the schools. I went to Pinecrest and taught them how to make coral that we used in Little Mermaid, and so we're going ahead and get that interest built up, because I never ever thought about set when I was young doing the plays. But there's so much in the theater that you can do, that going in and just giving this education, maybe sparking some interest.
Well, you are. I'm sure you're inspiring many young people,
so.
Kevin. We're so excited to have you here today to share your art. And remember that you can like Whitman Gallery and Studio on Facebook to see hours, or if you want to book a party and stop by there, buy some artwork. And we are just so thankful to have you here in the community.
Well, thank you.
And hope to see you again soon.